Hello everyone, I'm Grandmaster Harsha Bharathakoti. Welcome to Chess Brains. Today I'm going to teach you all how to win one of the most important Rook endgames. So this position is called Lucena Position, one of the crucial positions in Rook endgames. And before we dig into it, I just wanted to mention why it is so important to learn Rook endgames usually. Um, Actually, the most common endgames, like there are minor piece endgames, queen endgames, pawn endgames, but the most common in all of this is actually rook endgames. So it's very, very important to know all types of like the tricks, like how we should play in these positions. So let's take a look into it. So this is called the Lucena position, and as we can see, the king is cut off first. The black king is cut off. One of the crucial techniques in rook end games, like it's always most of the times stronger to cut off the king than just keep giving checks. So I'll just show you an example of it. So let's just say white played rook check here. The king will go to d8, and then let's say white played check again, and the king will go to c8. So now it's just a draw because the king is happily just in front of this pawn. You cannot move the king anymore, and black will just start giving checks. So as you can see, most of the times it is stronger to cut off the king than giving checks. So yeah, now the king is just like out of the game because the rook is cut off in the king, right? And if we see here, the black rook is having the control over this file, but of course with the help of the king it's easy to push the pawn. So first we are going to play pawn c7, and he doesn't have he can't do anything other than just giving checks. So rook check, king c6, rook check, king b7, rook check, and then king c8. And then okay, they'll just play some waiting move, something like rook b3. So what's the plan here? Okay, the white king cannot come out because the rook is controlling the file. At the same time, the king on e7 is controlling the d8 and d7 square. So the king is in front of the pawn. We want to, of course, move the king so that we can queen. But the rook and the king, like both are controlling the important squares. So here, the first thing we need to do is keep the king out. So rook e2 check. So there are two options here, king d6 or king f7. If king d6, we are just going to play king d8, and then the next move c8 queen. Game over. So king f7, the most natural move. And yeah, this is the proper Lucena position, the key position. So the technique here is very important. It's called building a bridge. So yeah, I'm going to explain it like what exactly and like how we should play this. So rook e4 is the key move. So what's the idea? So in case instead of rook e4, if we play king d7, because okay, we want to make a queen, right? What will black do? He'll just start giving checks again. Check, king here, check, king there, rook check again, king c5, rook c3 check again. And there is no other option than like going forward, right? Because yep, the rook is attacking the pawn, the king needs to defend. So by now I think you get the idea behind rook e4. Yep, when the king comes here, they'll give a check on c3, and we want to block the check with rook c4. Okay, now what's the difference between rook e4 and rook e5? Like it seems like the same thing, right? Yeah, like I can play rook e4 and then like block it with rook c4. Same thing, rook e5, and then I'll just stop the checks by playing rook c5. But the difference is when you play rook e5, I can attack the rook with my king. So now, okay, white rook needs to go back again, because if you try to remove the cutoff by playing something like rook c5, I'll just go back to e7. So again, like white needs to give a check, go back, start all over again. So that's why rook e5 is not the best move here, but instead rook e4. That's why the fourth rank is the crucial when it comes to Lucena. So again, black cannot do anything other than just waiting basically. So let's say rook d1, king d7, threatening to make queen. So they'll just give a check, king c6, rook check, king d6, rook check, king c5, rook check, and finally rook c4. So the king is just too far to stop the pawn. Yeah, even if they take or just move, next move we are going to make a queen. There is an interesting doubt here. Okay, after king d6, actually we cannot make queen. So why should he give check? Maybe what if they just play a waiting move? So now you cannot play rook c4, or you cannot make queen as well. So now what should white do? So here the simple move is rook e5 now. So the idea is simple. Now you are just going to play rook c5, just cut off the, just exchange the rook, and then game over. And and there is still more. I'll just show you guys one more trick, which usually the black from the defending side usually try. Is, let's just say instead of rook here, they play something like king f6. Okay, so of course we don't change anything. Our plan is simple. We'll just play king d7, rook check, king c6, rook c3 check, king d6, and we know that if they play rook d3 check, we are just going to c5 and then block it, right? So let's just say they played some waiting move now on rook c1. So if you think, oh, okay, yeah, I think we know the idea, right? Just play rook e5 and then rook c5 next. But no, here there is a little trick here. The king this time is attacking the rook, so they can take the pawn now. So we cannot, if we take their rook, of course they are going to take our rook, and it's a draw. So we always need to be very careful with each and every move, especially in the end games. So here we don't want to play rook e5 directly, but instead we will play rook e6 check first. They'll play king f7 or king f5, anywhere they go. Then rook e5, and next move rook c5, game over. Yeah, or we can play rook e8 as well, because they are not controlling the square anymore, and then make queen. So yep, this is how we win the Lucena position. Very important to know, because usually like in Rook Endgames there will be a lot of pawns, but all the pawns get exchanged and get into this position, the final crucial position, to know like how to win. And one last thing is that the Lucena position almost works in all ranks except when it comes to rook file, because when the pawn is on the rook file, usually it's going to be a draw. But there are certain cases where that can be winning as well. Yeah, the more videos will be coming soon. So hope you all enjoyed it. Thank you.
Visit chessbrains.com to book a free assessment and find the perfect class today.